The Center for Court Innovation, to me, is really a place where people think out of the box. It's all about thinking, studying new approaches to this justice system that is such an integral part of our society and our life here in New York. Center for Court Innovation is important to the New York State court system because we are dealing with 4.7 million cases every year and keeping our heads above water in terms of making sure that those cases come into the courts, are handled appropriately, that they're disposed of in the normal course. And it's very hard at the same time that you're doing that to try and think about, gee, are we doing it the way it should be done? Are there better ways to do our business? And, I think that's fundamental to any organization that is going to strive for excellence. You have to be able to stand back and say, how can we do it better? That's where the Center for Court Innovation comes into the picture. How can we do it better? I think every organization needs a research and development arm. In other words, every forward-looking organization that wants to do more than just survive needs a research and development arm to look into what we're doing and to figure out where do we go next. The Center for Court Innovation has greatly contributed to the new judiciary, to a changed court system that's able to function in the year 2011. There are in so many areas we think differently about what we do, whether it's drug courts or mental health courts or so many of the other what we call experimental courts that look at particular kinds of litigation, particular kinds of cases, and say, how can we, again, change our mentality? Are we looking at it in the right way? The center has impacted every aspect of the court system, from the lowest level offenses to the most serious, violent oriented crimes that so affect our communities and the public, whether it is graffiti on the wall or prostitution or domestic violence or juvenile justice, housing, every conceivable area that you can think of, both on the criminal type offenses, on major areas of our caseloads that affect people's lives, dealing with their families, with their children, with the roof over their heads. What the center has taught us is that every crime is important, that every offense is important, because every offense has its consequence. And the consequence is on our communities and on our way of life. Was it a risky decision to start for the court system to have this alliance, this what should I say, this systemic relationship with the center? And our answer then and our answer now is that we cannot succeed in serving the public if we're not thinking about what we're doing. We're not in the business of just counting cases. We're in the business of making every case count. That's what the center's about. That's what the New York State Unified Court System is about, and we're proud of it, and we're proud of this 15-year relationship. We made a statement 15 years ago that we were going to change the New York court system and hope to be a model for the rest of the country in terms of rethinking justice. What is justice really about? And I hope and believe that we've done just that. So, was there a moment when I knew this was going to happen, when this issue came up and we said, gee, great, let's do this? Well, I think it all really grows out of the aftermath of Midtown, where this was clearly a new experiment in justice. And John Feinblatt was so intimately involved. And I think what happened, all of us who were involved in this process, sort of sitting around, I remember sitting around and talking with John about, okay, well, how do we make this experiment permanent? And what I mean is not just the individual initiative, Midtown, but how do we do this? How do we get this whole idea of lots of different experiments into kind of the DNA of the court system? How do I see the Center for Court Innovation's role going forward? I see it as a leader in New York and around the country in rethinking justice. I think we've just begun, we've hit the tip of the iceberg in terms of what is the role of the modern judiciary in this complex world that we live in today, in New York, around the country, and in the center's case, around the world. And I see the center's role as only becoming larger as more and more justice system entities understand the importance of thinking aloud about what we're trying to do. So I think it's borne out, but by what I see in terms of the center's development, that whether it's in New York, whether it's in the middle of our country, on the West Coast, in England, around the world, the center, I think, will continue to be one of the driving forces, if not the driving force, in rethinking the justice system with its critical impact on the world we live in today.